All right, folks, the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's talk about Aristotle's theory of the good life. Finally. So we're going to do a brief overview. We're going to talk about this question that we raised last time. What is the ideal human form? We'll discuss Aristotle's theory of the good life, and then we will draw some conclusions. So just to review, in our previous lecture, we learned about Aristotle's theory of nature. And what we discovered is that Aristotle argued that everything in nature is what Socio calls formed matter, matter which develops according to an ideal blueprint or form. And Aristotle concluded that all things in nature have an inherent purpose, or telos, to become itself or to develop into its potential form. And because human beings are a part of nature, he argues that nature has given humanity a purpose as well. And what is that purpose? To develop into the ideal human form. But as we kind of alluded to last time, what is the ideal human form for Aristotle? What does that even mean? Well, what I usually tell students as an illustration is that the ideal human form for Aristotle kind of resembles Gauguin's The Thinker. All right, how so? Well, let's take a look. So I think it's safe to assume that the thinker is physically healthy. I mean, come on, look at that bod, right? That is quite an in-shape physique. And just by virtue of the name, that the thinker is intellectually healthy, is curious and contemplative. And of course, I had to add another image of Gauguin's The Kiss. That the thinker is emotionally healthy, that is in a monogamous relationship, has friends, and knows how to behave in social situations. So in other words, the ideal human form is a well-rounded, healthy individual, a human being who is physically healthy, intellectually healthy, and emotionally healthy. So with this in mind, let's take a look at Aristotle's theory of the good life and see how it relates to this ideal human form. So what you're going to notice right off the bat is that this diagram reflects our acorn and oak tree diagram, because it's basically the same thing. Human beings are essentially more complicated acorns. So here we are. Here's a human being represented by the stick figure. And just like acorns, human beings are comprised of matter, and they are comprised of form. That is, we are comprised of material stuff, and we have somewhere within us some kind of an internal blueprint of what the ideal perfect human being looks like. And what does it look like? As I mentioned, Gauguin's The Thinker plus The Kiss. And remember, just as with the acorn, human beings have an internal, or an inherent rather, purpose or function, which is to develop into the ideal human being. When human beings do this, they have achieved what is called their telos, or their end goal, as given to them by nature, which is to become realized form, or to become itself, which means to become a physically, intellectually, and emotionally healthy individual. So the purpose of life is for human beings to strive to achieve this telos, to dedicate their lives to it. Now, what is it that is driving human beings to this goal? Well, Aristotle has this very interesting concept that he introduces called the entelechy. And the entelechy refers to the internal drive that nature has given to us to achieve our ideal human form. And the way I usually think about the entelechy is kind of like that thing that wakes you up in the morning, the thing that motivates you to go to school, to study, go to work, to establish relationships. It's that internal drive that pushes you to become your potential self. And Aristotle adds that when someone listens to their entelechy every day and they strive for this good life to fulfill their function, they experience what is called eudaimonia, or happiness. So, put simply, when a person listens to their entelechy and they strive to realize their potential human form, they will experience eudaimonia, roughly translated as happiness. And for the author of our textbook, Douglas Socio, he interprets eudaimonia as referring to feelings of really being fully alive, exhilarated, fully functioning, fully aware, awake, energetic, and hopeful. So when you are striving to become well-rounded, intellectually, physically, emotionally, you get this high where you really feel that you're living this exhilarating, fully aware, fully functioning, energetic kind of life. Sounds good. All right, so here's our conclusion. So let's assume that Aristotle is correct. So let's assume that nature has designed human beings to be physically, intellectually, and emotionally healthy and well-rounded. Well, how is the good life that he's pitching to us, how is it to be achieved? That is, what kind of lifestyle ought to be lived? What are the particulars of how I should live my daily life? Well, we're going to talk about this in our next presentation on the life of moderation.